For more than 15 quiet years, Sam Dryden had lived alone on his ranch, tucked between the low New Mexico hills and long stretches of open grassland. Sunrise to sunset, his days followed the same gentle rhythm, feeding the horses, checking the fences, listening to the soft creak of the windmill as it spun above the well. The silence wasn't something he feared, it was something he understood. Life had been noisy once, filled with travel, cattle drives, and the constant company of other workers. When he finally settled on this ranch, he decided that stillness would be his closest companion. But on a late afternoon, when the sky glowed orange and the shadows stretched long across the earth, Sam noticed something unusual. At first, it was only a faint vibration he felt through the porch boards, then the soft but unmistakable sound of many footsteps moving together. His horses reacted before he did, lifting their heads toward the fence line. Sam stepped outside, not alarmed but alert, wiping dust from his hands as he walked toward the open yard. He saw them then, 10 Apache travelers standing beyond the fence, dust-covered and exhausted from a long journey. They varied in age. A couple of elders leaning on walking sticks, middle-aged men and women carrying bundles, and 2 younger teenagers trying to help the group despite their own tiredness. The man at the front introduced himself as Nantan. His voice was steady, but carried the weariness of someone who had been searching for safety for too long. Nantan explained that their group had been pushed from a nearby town after being falsely accused of trouble they insisted they never caused. They weren't seeking anything more than short-term shelter, just a safe place to rest and decide their next steps without fear of being chased again. Sam looked at them carefully. He saw no hostility, no threats, just people worn down by circumstances. He understood that kind of weariness. For a long moment he didn't speak, considering the weight of what he might be taking on. But his ranch had always had more space than he needed, and something about their quiet respect reminded him of the better parts of humanity he'd almost forgotten. Finally, he lifted the latch and opened the gate. "You can stay here tonight," he said. "We'll figure out tomorrow when it comes." Gratitude flickered across their faces as the group settled in, helping with chores and sharing what little food they carried. Sam felt the ranch shift from silent to alive. For the first time in years, he wasn't alone, and strangely, that felt right. Morning light drifted across the ranch, soft and warm, carrying with it the smell of wood smoke and the low chatter of the Apache group preparing breakfast. Sam Dryden stepped onto his porch and paused for a quiet moment, watching the scene unfold in a way he had never expected on his usually empty land. The travelers moved with calm purpose, tending to their horses, boiling water, and checking their gear with practiced hands. Even in exhaustion, they carried themselves with dignity and discipline. Nantan greeted Sam respectfully and invited him to share a simple meal of corn cakes and brewed tea. As they ate, Nantan explained more of what had happened. A group of traders in the nearby town had accused them of stealing goods, an accusation the Apaches denied firmly. Instead of listening or investigating, the traders had pushed them out, threatening them if they returned. With limited supplies and families to protect, the group had been forced to travel without rest, hoping to find somewhere safe to gather their thoughts and decide their next move. Sam listened carefully. He hated seeing people cornered by unfair judgment. He had known that kind of treatment in his younger years, working among crews where blame was thrown around carelessly, and the weaker voices were ignored. As he looked at the tired faces around him, elders, parents, and young people just trying to stay together, he felt a familiar sense of responsibility tug at him. The ranch was large, with acres of land Sam didn't even touch anymore. The barns needed work, the fencing needed repair, and there was always more to do than one person could manage. Offering longer shelter wasn't a small decision, but neither was turning away people who truly needed help. After a moment of thought, Sam finally spoke. "You can stay here a little longer," he said, "as long as we help each other. There's enough land and more than enough work to go around." Relief passed through the group, quiet but sincere. They immediately began helping in ways Sam didn't even expect. Some repaired old fence posts using materials Sam had forgotten he had. Others restored a broken section of the barn roof. The elders taught Sam how to store certain foods more effectively, and the younger ones gathered useful plants from the nearby fields. In return, Sam showed them how to maintain the water pump, brand cattle safely, and care for tools unfamiliar to them. By the end of the day, a comfortable routine had formed, one shaped by shared effort rather than obligation. As dusk settled over the ranch, Sam realized that the silence he once lived with had softened into something better, a sense of community he hadn't felt in years. Days on the ranch began to take on a steady rhythm, one that surprised Sam with how natural it felt. The Apaches built small shelters near the edge of the tree line, shaping them from branches and cloth they carried, careful not to disturb Sam's grazing areas. Their presence brought more life to the wide, open land than Sam had seen in years. Laughter from the younger ones drifted through the air, and the sound of tools striking wood echoed gently during the afternoons. Sam realized how strange it felt to hear voices other than his own and how quickly he had grown used to it. They found ways to be useful without being asked. A few of the Apache men helped Sam clear an overgrown path near the creek. The women collected herbs and plants, teaching Sam which could be used for cooking or medicine. In return, Sam shared what he knew about ranch work, showing them how to fix the windmill, how to read the cattle's behavior before storms, and how to prepare the barn for sudden temperature drops. It wasn't a one-sided arrangement anymore. It was a partnership that seemed to settle comfortably into their days. But things rarely stayed peaceful for long. One evening, as Sam and Nantan checked a water trough near the western fence, they saw dust rising from the road. It wasn't the slow, drifting dust from a single rider. It was the heavy, rolling cloud made by a group riding fast. Sam narrowed his eyes, recognizing trouble before it even reached the gate. Soon 6 riders came into clear view. Their worn coats and grim expressions left no doubt. They were the same trading company, men who had driven the Apaches out earlier. Harrow, the thick-set leader, pulled his horse to a halt at the fence and glared across the property. "I heard you're hiding thieves," Harrow called out, his voice sharp. Sam stepped forward, but there was no anger in his voice, only firmness. "They're not thieves. They're people looking for safety." Harrow's eyes narrowed. "They're bringing trouble with them. And trouble doesn't get to settle near our trade routes." Nantan stood beside Sam, calm but resolute. A few Apache adults quietly gathered behind them, staying protective but not threatening. Harrow seemed to notice his jaw tightening. He leaned forward in his saddle. "We'll be back. And next time it won't be a friendly visit." They rode off, leaving a trail of dust and tension behind. That night, the entire ranch gathered around the fire to discuss what might come next. Sam looked at the faces around him, faces that had become part of his daily life, and felt a responsibility settle on his shoulders. These people weren't just passing through anymore. Their safety mattered to him, and for the first time in many years, Sam found himself ready to protect something. More than just his land, he was ready to protect the people who now shared it.